There are so many world-changing events taking place right now across so many countries, whether it be Syria, Romania, whether it be in Ukraine, whether it be in Georgia. So many things are happening within the past 24 hours. We need to break it down. In Romania, for the first time ever, we're seeing the highest court step in and say that the last results for the presidential election that just took place, every single one of those votes need to be recounted. The reason why, A, because the person who actually wound up getting most of the vote is someone that like people never heard of. And it didn't make much sense. And B, this person never physically campaigned. They're calling this guy a TikTok president, in which he only had campaigns here on TikTok. One of the biggest allegations is that TikTok, this platform we're on right now, had favored the pro-Russian candidate over the other ones, specifically showing his stuff more than others, with some allegations saying that more than likely there had been either bot farms, like what Russia does to Ukraine in Africa, or Russia had funded certain campaigns on TikTok to get his videos and information out there while kind of pushing down the other ones, the other candidates. That being said, now the Central Election Bureau must now do a recount on every single vote. Now there is a runoff on December 8th, so by then we will find out who actually won. At the same time, if the recount doesn't finish before then, that could open up yet something else that we're not going to get into yet. And I do need to add, as someone's account who gets affected by Russian bots every single day, I can actually see this being true. That's just my personal opinion. Next, we move over to Georgia, in which massive protests are currently taking place, now going into the fourth day. For over 20 years, Georgia has been trying to get closer and closer to the EU and further away from Russia. But in the past few months, we have seen a lot of the Dreamer Party, which were backed by a lot of Russians, add in a lot of these laws in which it kind of mimics things that happen inside of Russia. One of those laws, by the way, is international observers when it comes to voting. Meaning, like, you've got a third party who comes out to make sure everything is fair. Yeah, they made sure that wasn't going to happen. But the biggest thing, and the thing that really took things over the edge, is that the Dreamer Party said, we're not liking what the EU is doing to us, so we're going to go ahead and say we're not even going to talk to you guys about joining for at least 4 years to 2028. This, by the way, kind of echoes exactly what happened in Ukraine a while back and their revolution, which is why if you see pictures and videos online, it kind of looks like exactly what happened in Ukraine. But things even took another step, as the current president of Georgia says that she does not recognize the vote and she will not step down at the end of her term. Because there was no equal or third party there to make sure the votes were legitimate, a lot of Georgians believe that this election was all fraud and they want a recount. And that's pretty much what she had said in her speech. She says there is no legitimate parliament, and therefore an illegitimate parliament cannot elect a new president. Thus, no inauguration can take place, and my mandate continues until a legitimately elected parliament is formed. Once again, the Georgian people don't want to be closer and closer to Russia. They want to be a part of EU, and they clearly know that this election had issues, and they want a third party to come in, and they obviously want to redo this somehow. I'm not quite sure how we would get to that point, but that's kind of like up in the air. And next we move to Russia, where a few different things are going on. Obviously, there's a lot that's going on in Ukraine, and we do those videos separate. But two things happened that stand out as, wow, that's a big change there. First, we saw the Kremlin dismiss the commander of its forces in Syria. If you haven't been watching the news lately, there's a lot that's going on, including rebels that actually seized air defense systems in Syria. According to Ukrainian intelligence, Russian troops deployed in Syria have suffered significant losses, and some Russian units are surrounded, and hundreds of Russian soldiers are completely missing. So Russia turned around and fired its commander. And this brings us to our main story today on Russia, which is Putin has approved Russia's new budget for next year, with a record amount of spending on defense. This number reaching $126 billion. That is the largest in Russia's history and makes up 6% of Russia's GDP. Though I need to add that the total expenditures of the Russian budget next year are planned at $387 billion. That's 19.3 of their GDP. So what does that mean? That means that Russia is planning on continuing its war through next year and are going to be spending a record amount of money to try to make this war go longer and longer and longer. But let me know what you guys think about all of this, because those are just breaking news stories in the past 24 hours. Obviously, there's a lot that is going on in Israel and Gaza. There's a lot that is going on in the United States. But there's a lot of world events happening right here in front of our eyes. And it's kind of insane to see it all unfold at the same time. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and be sure to follow me for more.